Hey, I'm Paige DeSorbo, and I'm always thinking about underwear.
I'm Hannah Burner, and I'm also thinking about underwear, but I prefer full coverage. I like to call them my granny panties.
Actually, I never think about underwear. That's the magic of Tommy John.
Same, they're so light and so comfy, and if it's not comfortable, I'm not wearing it.
And the bras, soft, supportive, and actually breathable.
Yes, Lord knows the girls need to breathe. Also, I need my PJs to breathe and be buttery soft and stretchy enough for my dramatic tossing and turning at night. That's why I live in my Tommy John pajamas.
Plus, they're so cute because they fit perfectly.
Put yourself on to Tommy John.
Upgrade your drawer with Tommy John. Save 25% for a limited time at TommyJohn.com/comfort. See site for details.
This episode is brought to you by Paranormal Playback, a new podcast where hosts Shar, Mel and Laura recap the spooky and entertaining world of paranormal reality TV. Each week they take a fresh look at popular shows like Ghost Adventures and Kindred Spirits, blending humour with insight as they pull apart what's happening on screen. The three of them are a mix of believers and skeptics, which makes for really fun conversations, sometimes leaning into mystery, other times asking the questions viewers might be thinking themselves. With their background in creative production, they know how these shows are put together, so they're great at pointing out the moments that feel real versus the ones that might be more for the cameras. And their segment, This Old Haunt, digs into the true crime side of paranormal investigations, separating fact from fiction. With Halloween coming up, it's the perfect time to add something spooky, funny and a little addictive to your playlist. For even more spooky, ghostly, paranormal content with a humorous spin, go check out Paranormal Playback. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Scary. Before we start this episode, I want to say a special thanks to our new Patreon subscribers who are Andrew Menel, Nuala Flanagan, John Hill, Joanne J and Sandra George. Thank you so much for signing up to the Patreon and supporting the show. There's a brand new episode that was dropped there last week called The Philip Experiment. Something a little bit different than what I normally do on the show. And you guys seem to like it, so I might be doing some more of those type episodes in the future. If you have your own paranormal encounter that you would like me to narrate on the show, you can send it to scaryaparanormalpodcast@gmail.com and it just might get narrated right here. Thank you to everybody who has sent in their encounters. Every time I read somebody's encounter, it always traumatizes me, so thanks for that. At the moment there is a bit of a backlog to get through, so that is a good complaint, and I always welcome more of your paranormal encounters, so do send them in. But now, let's get into our next encounter. Some of my best memories growing up are from camping trips with my dad and my younger brother Jake. It was kind of our family tradition. Something we looked forward to every summer. Mom never joined us. She was not a lover of the great outdoors. Looking back now, it was really nice to have that experience bonding with your dad and your brother. We'd pack the car up with our 10 sleeping bags and enough snacks to feed a small army. And being honest, we never had a solid plan. Of course we'd know the general area where we were going, and I'm sure Dad would have a good idea of spots where we could camp for the night and stuff like that, but we rarely booked in places. As the years went on, it was kind of required that you had to do that, but in the earlier years when I was a teenager, it was pretty common to just ask a farmer if you could stay in the fields for the night. On one of these trips, We had gone hiking for most of the day, and it was getting to the point where we needed to figure out where we were going to stay. Everything was always left to the last minute with my dad. And Dad, doing the right thing, said, you know, we need to ask permission before we set up camp. So I remember us driving up this long gravelled driveway leading up to this old farmhouse. As we approached it, there was an old man that stepped out onto the porch, wiping his hands on this rag. I always remember that. And he looked like what any other farmer looked like, really. Dad greeted him and asked, could we stay for the night in one of his fields? It was a beautiful spot. It was really scenic. And the old man kind of just looked at us for a moment and then broke into a bit of a slow smile and said, yeah, no problem. We don't get that many visitors asking if they could stay the night in the field, but sure. So with this old farmer's blessing, we drove back down the driveway and went into one of the fields that lay before the house and set up our tent. At around 11 o'clock, the tiredness of all the hiking that we had done earlier in the day was beginning to catch up with us, and Dad kind of suggested, you know, we need to turn in so we could get up early and maybe do some more hiking in the morning before we head back home. So we crawled into the tent, got in our sleeping bags and exchanged a few jokes before we all fell asleep. The last thing I remember drifting off was just hearing this distant hoot of, I think was an owl, and I just drifted off into sleep. I'm not sure exactly what time it was when I woke up, but it was still dark outside, pitch black. At first I couldn't figure out what had roused me from such a deep sleep. There was no sound, no movement, nothing obvious that I could pinpoint. But as I was lying there, I started to notice something strange. The inside of the tent was illuminated with this really soft light. It wasn't like a harsh beam of a flash lamp or like a glow off a fire, but it was this steady, pretty bright light. And it was coming from outside the tent. My first thought was that there was somebody outside with a flash lamp, but looking back now, that light was nothing like a flash lamp. So I thought it was the old farmer. I tried to wake up my dad gently, just calling his name and pushing on his shoulder, but he wasn't budging. He's a really deep sleeper anyway, so that's nothing new really. I tried to get Jake to wake up and he was the same. At that point, curiosity was after getting the better of me, and I thought maybe it was like a car passing or a full moon, or so I unzipped the door of the tent and stuck my head out. Maybe about 50 feet off the ground was this massive circular object that was emanating this bright, soft white light. This thing was huge, like enormous, and was completely silent, not a single sound, not even a hum. I can remember what I saw so vivid and clear in my mind, even to this day. Just sitting there, like not too far away from our tent. At that point I wanted my dad and my brother to see what was going on, so I was shouting. I was like, "Dad, Jake, wake up, look." And they were completely knocked out. Like, I could not wake them up. I was shaking my brother and he was just completely KO'd. I tried to wake them for ages, and all the while this light was still outside the tent. That scared me more than anything, because I thought something serious, like medical, had happened to the two of them. I didn't really know what to think. It was panic. I remember grabbing my phone and it was dead. I grabbed my dad's phone, it was dead. And I even looked for Jake's phone and that was dead as well. And then everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, I was greeted by this sky that was all these different shades of pink and orange. And then I realised that my clothes were completely damp with this morning dew. And I suddenly realised I was somewhere outside. As my senses slowly returned, I realised I was a good 20 feet from where our tent was pitched, sprawled out on my back. No sleeping bag, no other belongings, just lying with my clothes damp and cold from the night air. I think confusion quickly gave way to this sense of alarm that I was trying to now piece together exactly what had happened and why the hell am I outside. The memories of the night before came flooding back, all about the light, how I couldn't wake up my brother and my dad. And I could see the tent not too far away from me, so I got up as fast as I can and went to the tent to see if I could wake up my dad and my brother. Were they still in this state of comatose that, I didn't know what to do? And as I got over there, I could hear voices, I could hear them talking inside the tent, and them saying, "Where's Paul? What's going on? Where's Paul gone?" And I poked my head in, and my dad was just asking, "Where the hell have you been? Why your clothes are all wet? Where were you?" I guess my face must have gave away immediately that something was up. When I went to open my mouth to respond, I couldn't talk. I wanted to talk, but words wouldn't come out. And then I started to stammer a bit, and eventually, after a few minutes of this stammer, I was able to say, "I don't know what happened. I woke up outside last night, seen a light. I couldn't wake yous up." They just sat there looking at me like I was crazy. Pretty much straight away, my brother said, "You were sleepwalking. Obviously, you were sleepwalking." I've never sleptwalked before. It's not a thing that I had ever done as a kid or a teenager, and part of me knew that that's not what happened. And I voiced this. I said, "No, I didn't sleepwalk. This definitely happened. Something weird happened. I saw this thing in the sky." And they weren't really having any of it. And I said how I couldn't wake them up, and I tried to grab their phones to try call, and their phones were dead. And I told them to look at their phones and see, and every one of our phones was completely flat. And that was the one thing that just confirmed that whatever happened last night did actually happen when I was awake. That I didn't dream something or hallucinate something. The next few days and weeks after that was really tough. I think I was still in some sort of state of shock. I was having anxiety, panic attacks. I had developed this stammer sometimes when I was in stressful situations that I never had before. I had 2 weird marks on my body. One was in the middle of my back that I didn't realise I had until maybe the next day this perfect red triangle mark on my back that I don't know how you would manage to recreate yourself just from it naturally occurring or whatever. And I also had another triangle shape on my left foot, right at my ankle. For about 2 years I had some sort of stammer, and eventually it just kind of faded away, and thankfully the panic attacks and anxiety subsided as well. I believe that I was abducted. I honestly think that something happened to me that night, or something took me. I don't have any memories of what happened between being in the tent and waking up in the grass the next morning, which is terrifying. Honestly, I don't know if my family believe the same things that I believe, but I definitely know that something weird happened. And I think my dad, more so than my brother, thinks that something weird happened as well. When I showed him the marks, and I think the way I was with the stammer and the panic attacks and stuff, my mum had some words to say to him, like after a couple of days of this going on at home and me coming back from a camping trip and developing this stammer and being on edge, and you know, it was pretty rough for a while. There was a few times where I could hear her saying, like, what the hell happened? He's totally different. You're not telling me the full story. And I told her, of course, what happened. And it's a big ask for somebody to believe that you saw some big huge light in the sky and then, you know, think you were abducted by something. It definitely makes me question about, you know, what's out there, what's past our little small blue dot. And thankfully I haven't experienced anything like that since, and hopefully I won't. Thank you to Paul for sending in your paranormal encounter, and I hope I did justice retelling your experience. That is pretty crazy. I also think it has unlocked a new fear of mine of not being able to wake up people when you're in such a strange situation as that. Am I a believer in life outside of this planet? Of course I am. I host a paranormal podcast. I just would like to look at them from afar, please. Thank you for listening to this retelling of Paul's paranormal encounter. And like I said at the start of the show, if you have your own, you can send it to scaryaparanormalpodcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, please consider giving the podcast 5 stars and writing a very nice review. It helps the podcast get seen, and it really helps the whole algorithm and all that stuff. And thank you to everybody who has written amazing reviews. I see them all. Thank you so much. Like I said, the information for everything you might need can be found in the episode show notes. Other than that, join me next time for another episode of Scary.
Hi, I'm Casey, host of the Casefile podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about Boost Mobile, offering reliable nationwide coverage backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Love your service or get your money back, no questions asked. With Boost Mobile, you get nationwide coverage and fast network speeds at a fraction of the price. Why pay more for the same great service? Unlimited plans start at just $25 a month, and you won't be sacrificing coverage to save. So why wait? Start saving with Boost today. The Boost mobile network, together with their roaming partners, covers 99% of the US population. 5G speeds not available in all areas. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store or find us online at boostmobile.com. Money back guarantee. Try Boost Mobile risk-free for 30 days. If you don't like us, you get your money back. Requires port-in and autopay. Customers who cancel within 30 days of activation will have Boost service fees refunded. Activation fees, if applicable, and phone payments will not be refunded.
Hey, I'm Paige DeSorbo, and I'm always thinking about underwear.
I'm Hannah Berner, and I'm also thinking about underwear, but I prefer full coverage. I like to call them my granny panties.
Actually, I never think about underwear. That's the magic of Tommy John.
Same. They're so light and so comfy, and if it's not comfortable, I'm not wearing it.
And the bras, soft, supportive, and actually breathable.
Yes, Lord knows the girls need to breathe. Also, I need my PJs to breathe and be buttery soft and stretchy enough for my dramatic tossing and turning at night. That's why I live in my Tommy John pajamas.
Plus, they're so cute because they fit perfectly.
Put yourself on to Tommy John.
Upgrade your drawer with Tommy John. Save 25% for a limited time at TommyJohn.com/comfort. See site for details.
The NFL is back, and FanDuel's got everything you need to play your game, from same-game parlays to live betting. Right now, new customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. 21 plus in present and select states. 18 plus in Kentucky and Wyoming. Must be first online real money wager. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.